All right, there we go. And then back to our slideshow. So Claudia, you still can hear me, correct? Virtual
Yes,
meetings,
I
virtual
can.
elections, virtual trainings. And we have resources on all those things on sic.sc.gov. We've got some, we got a good PowerPoint and a presentation that Karen and I, Karen, our associate director, and I did about SICs and COVID-19. So this is something I think we're going to have to deal with for the foreseeable future, is to meet virtually and to hold elections and trainings virtually as well. Regarding those trainings, I'm going to be sending an email out to our district contacts, encouraging you all to schedule basics training to be conducted virtually. I know I've spent last evening and will this evening with Lexington Richland 5. Also, we have been virtually trained with Calhoun County. So we're doing that. So please reach out and we'll get a date scheduled, and then we'll meet virtually for some SIC basics training. Speaking of basics trainings, those district contacts who are new this year, right after we're done with this session, if they would stay on for a short period of time, I've got an SIC basics training for them that we can go through so that they can be certified to conduct those trainings should they desire in their home districts. Also, in terms of what's new, SICs and ESSER, we've got the CARES Act and the CRRSA Act and the ARP Act. And all of that means there is a great deal of federal money coming into the state of South Carolina for schools to use for in the light of COVID-19. All these ask for stakeholder involvement, and I know I sent a letter out to our superintendents encouraging them to use the resource of their school improvement councils for a part of that stakeholder involvement. I know that some have done that, but for more on ESSER and the which is the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Act, and the money that is available for schools at the local level as well as the state level. There's resources available online at sc.ed.gov, our website, sic.sc.gov, and then also the Carolina Family Engagement website, cfec.sc.gov. Those are plenty of resources there for you to take a look at. And while the plans have been submitted, you know, the schools will take a look, and sometimes those could be adjusted. And that way the School Improvement Council could be a great resource in terms of looking those adjustments and adjusting those plans as they go forward. In terms of other resources for School Improvement Councils, we have a lot of materials and information online on our website. If you're new and haven't been able to review our website, I suggest you go and take a look at it, because there we've got our SIC handbook in both English and Spanish, ready to download or view online. We also have a number of toolkits, an elections toolkit, a bylaws toolkit, an effective meetings toolkit, and so on, and a resource library of SIC activities that can be very helpful. So please, if you would, reach out to your SICs and point them to this very valuable resource. And then also we have some direct and video training that is available. Direct, I mean by currently right now in terms of virtual learning, but also we have some the SIC basics provided in a video training in 3 20-minute segments, so they can be easily shown during an SIC meeting. And then, of course, the many resources of the Carolina Family Engagement Center, which Karen Utter is going to talk a little bit about in a few minutes. But there's a lot of things there, not just for SICs, but for school folks and parents and families as well. So some key dates for SICs as we go forward in 21-22. The fall, schedule that training. Let us know, and we'll be glad to help you with that. And coming up on the 15th of October is the state deadline for SIC member elections. So that's something to keep in mind, October 15th. And then 30 days later, November 15th, SICs are to conclude their officer elections and then report their membership to the SCSIC member network, which Claudia Parnell, our digital and web director, will be talking about momentarily. December 3rd this year is the application deadline for the 2022 Rowdy Award for SIC Excellence. That application, we're finalizing that, and that will be up on the web on our website before the end of the week. It might even be today. So point your SICs to that as well. And it's a great way to honor SICs and recognize the fine work that they do. And we're going to have our 2021 Rowdy Award winner, Flowertown Elementary School, with us this morning to talk a little bit about the work that they've done. Looking at the spring, we're hopeful that we'll have a 22 SESIC annual meeting in person. Let's hope that that's the case. We have not a date scheduled yet, nor a venue, but we'll keep you posted on that. April 30th of 2022, that is the deadline for producing the annual SIC report to the parents. And that is the report for the 21-22 school year. So please advise your SICs that is the deadline to have those produced and disseminated to their school community. Now, we also ask that they upload the electronic versions of those reports to the member network by June 1st of every year. So that deadline is coming up as well. And then summer of 2022, this is when the South Carolina School Report Card information, including the narrative, submitted to the State Department of Education. While the principal takes the lead on that, we encourage our SICs to work with the principal to construct that narrative as it bears both the names of the principal and the SIC chair. So those are some key dates for SICs for the 2021 school, 2021-22 school year. So keep those in mind, if you will. And Regina, are you still with us, Regina? Yay! We're going to turn it over to, and I've got your PDF here, which I'll go ahead and share that for you. Is that okay?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, we have Regina Thurman, who is the coordinator of family community engagement with the South Carolina Department of Education, to talk about the department and parent and community engagement. So I am going to go ahead. I'm going to share that information. Let's see, where is it? There it is. All right. Regina, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Tom, for having me here. I don't know about everyone else, but I don't see there it is. Thank you. Thank you. Truly an honor to come before this body this morning. As Tom mentioned, I am with the State Department, the Office of Student Intervention Services, and my role here, I am the Family and Community Engagement Liaison for the department. And so I wanted to take some time this morning to share with you. I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of small, Tom, but nevertheless, I asked that you provide them with a copy of this resource guide. It is a work in progress and this particular guide is a work in progress under the leadership of SERVE Region 6. They are a consultant firm that's working with us. And so part of what we're trying to do is push out and share information with our schools, with our districts, and with our community of some of the resources that are available around family engagement. This particular guide that Tom is going to share with you is 7 offices out of the agency that addresses family community engagement. And I wanted to share this with you because you're in a very key role. You play such a key role with connecting and empowering parents and students and staff with knowledge. And so this particular guide outlines 7 offices. Along with it, there are resources, their website. I invite you, if you have time, when you have time in your day, in your week, to go and visit these particular websites. Some of them are very, very resourceful. You will find videos, professional development, and other resources that may help you to be of great resource to the folks that you lead, the folks that you guide. And so if you look at the guide itself, if you could scroll down, Tom, if you would just scroll down a little, maybe to the last page, I just wanted to highlight, this year we added the Office of Educator Services, and that's with Dr. James Ritter, who is the person, one more, go down, one more. He's the very last. There you go. Yes, the Office of Student Intervention Services. We're so excited because James has been with the agency for a while, but what's new is that the Office of Educator Services, which is the office, that handles all of the certification, the credentialing, and all of that, Dr. Ritter works with NASCI, and they are taking a deep look, a deep dive around teacher preparation, and so around family engagement. And so they are in the process of putting together a framework that will help teachers to really, really understand and empower and make a difference in the lives of the students and the parents and community. So that's a piece that we've added. So we've gone from 6 offices that touches on family engagement to 7. And so this particular guide, I think, would be a helpful resource to you. We also have in place here at the State Department what we call our internal roundtable. It is so hard to try and meet, but we are being very intentional about coming together as an agency. All of these offices have representatives that serve on the family engagement internal roundtable. And so quarterly, we meet. There's nothing like being out in the field and talking to someone and they tell you about a training from another department and you know nothing about it. So to avoid that, we're trying to not work in silos, but come together and work together as a team. So you have before you the guide that Tom will share, and I hope that you find it very helpful, very empowering. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Regina Thurman with the Office of Student Intervention Services, Family and Community Engagement Liaison. Are there any questions? Do we have time for questions, Tom? If anyone has any questions?
Absolutely. You have any questions for Regina?
Thank you. I see in the chat, very informative. So I'm trying to practice my wait time, which is kind of hard. You want to fill the silence, but sometimes waiting and allowing folks to process is important. I thank you, Tom, so much for having me. My contact information is there. Please feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Regina. Unfortunately, from between the 10:30 and a little bit before 10:45, we had too much wait time, but that was a technology situation. But we do appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we'll make sure that when we send out the resources from this virtual meeting, that that handout will be included with those, so they'll know the fine work and the resources that are available through you and your area at the department. So thank you so much for being with us, Regina.
Thank you.
Well, we're coming up to our next little section here, and that's going to be district contacts and the SCSIC member network. And that'll be Claudia Parnell, who is our digital and web director, and she is here. And Claudia, go ahead if you want to and share your screen, and we'll be good to go.
Okay, Tom, I'm hoping I'm doing this correctly. Can, wait.
There
yes,
you go.
can everyone see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. I think what we are experiencing is a lag due to the lack of bandwidth within the College of Education. So we know who to blame about that, but we will not mention their names. But let's just go forward, and I will talk about the member network. This is the home page for the member network. Users log in here with their email address and password. The member network site can be accessed by going there directly, by clicking the member network link under the quick links on the SCSIC website, or via the member network link under any of the 3 portals on the SCSIC page. Here you see the SCSIC website homepage and the location of the member network link. The quick links at the top of the page is the easiest way to access the member network. SCSIC district contacts coordinate entry of SIC membership information by assigning data entry responsibility to the individual schools, administrative offices, or by entering all SIC schools membership information from the school district office. We do not recommend that. We suggest that you assign the schools to enter their information themselves. You can obtain an account by visiting the homepage of the member network and clicking Request a User Account located on the left-hand side of the page. Fill out the account request and submit it. I will receive your request and set your account up. The system will then email a password to you. And here you see where that link is located. All user accounts, both school and district, are deactivated each year on July 1st. Passwords for previous year user accounts will not work for the current year. You may reactivate your old account by logging into the system with your email address and last year's password, and you will be prompted to reactivate your account. The system will then email a new password to the email address associated with the account. If you forget your password, click the Forgot My Password link right there. You see it circled. However, let me say that all schools systems do not support that. So if you cannot retrieve your password, what you need to do is contact me. Also, user accounts are tied to email addresses. Email addresses are your member network user ID. If your email address changes, you will not be able to log in with your new email address. That may seem obvious to most of us, but it happens, and it happens a lot. You also will not be able to reissue a password, because if you try to do that, it will send the password to your old email address. Again, if your email address changes, please contact me, and you see my email address right there in blue with the big fat underline, and just request an account update. Or you can just fill out a new account request. Now I'll briefly go over the basics of using the member network. Here you see SCSIC member network homepage. anyone in the public can view SIC members as they are a public body. Click this and you will see a district level screen. And you as a district user, once you log in, I apologize, I kind of messed up there a minute. This is what you as a district level user will see once you log in. You'll see a list of all the schools in your district, their compliance status, and if they have uploaded their last 2 years of SIC reports to the parents. You can click on the name of a school to see the main SIC membership for that school. This is a screenshot of the main school level screen, which you will see after clicking on a school name. This is what a school level user also sees after logging in. While school level users are responsible for membership updates, as a district level user, you can also perform these updates if you choose to do so. These are the reports district level users can run. Each one returns a report of active SIC membership in an Excel compatible file. The reports function link, not shown here, is located in the upper right-hand portion of the screen. The View SIC Members Report can be exported as an individual SIC or as the entire district. The information on the report is comprised of the name of the district, the name of the school, the member's contact information, the date the member was last updated in the database, whether the member is elected, appointed, or ex officio, and the type of member, which is parent, teacher, community member. If the member has shared their email address with the school to be included, it will be displayed also. The View All School Principals and View the SIC Chairs reports contains the same level of detail as the View SIC Members Report. It's important to remember that reports only return results for active members. All SIC membership becomes inactive after July 1st and won't be active again until it's updated for the new school year. So, for example, if you run a View SIC Members Report on July 1, the system won't find any active members. This is an updated SIC. If the member has been updated, there will be a green check in the updated column. This is a screenshot of an SIC that has not been updated. The non-updated members are highlighted in peach. You'll see a note at the top indicating that the highlighted members haven't been updated for the current school year. And you'll see that big green arrow pointing right there. This SIC has been partially updated. Members are updated by clicking the pencil icon in the edit column. And you'll see that green circle right there with the big fat green arrow. Click that pencil. To update a returning member for the new school term, the user indicates whether or not the member is a chair and then clicks the Update Member button. You see that top green circle? It says yes or no. That means, is it a chair or is it not? And then the button at the bottom is the Update Member button with the lower big fat green arrow. This is the school level screen. To add a member, the account holder clicks the Add Member button on this main membership screen. And you see that in the upper left-hand corner with the little plus green mark next to it. And again, that big fat green arrow that I've added. The member's contact information is added here. All fields are required except the email field. We strongly encourage SIC members to share their email address if they have one, because this is how the state office communicates with them. To delete a member, the user clicks the delete icon, the red X, you see it circled, on the main membership screen. Now, to talk about compliance, give me a moment, please. You click the compliance button. A user can see whether or not the SIC is in compliance with state statute by clicking this button. A green check mark in the result column, you see that over on the far right, indicates that the SIC is in compliance on each of the levels. A red X in the column indicates that they are not. You also see that highlighted in peach. The report will tell the user why the SIC is not in compliance on this particular level. The compliance status button on the main membership screen will show a red X for not reported, a blue asterisk for reported but not compliant, and a green check for in compliance. We ask councils to share their annual report to the parents by June 1st of each year. A user will click the Add Report to the Parents button to start this process. After clicking the Add Report to the Parents button, the user should click the Add Report button. After clicking the Add Report button, the system will advance to the next screen. Instructions for adding the report are displayed. Please be aware that if a lot of photos and graphics are contained in a report, the file size may be too large to upload. I get emails all the time about I can't upload my report to the parents. What you need to do in that case is just go to the internet and Google something like compress a PDF file. There are a number of free services out there that will allow you to compress your PDF. So do that if you get that email message or if you get that message on your screen. Now, if you have difficulty with that, or if the user, your school user, has difficulty with that, they can just contact me and I'll help. And that is the member network. And I'm so relieved to be out of this presentation. If anyone has any questions, please holler back at me right now or just email me. My contact information is right there in our site.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. Thank you very much. Do anybody have any questions for Claudia before we move on? These handouts, all the handouts, we'll make sure get to you all this week. But member network, that is an important part of the compliance process for SICs is to share that information. And it's also a great tool in terms of not only accountability, but accessibility, so that folks in a particular school community can go there and find out more about who their SIC members are and that sort of thing. So thank you, Claudia. Appreciate you sharing that information with us. Well, next, we have all these nuts and bolts things that we've done in terms of how do we record our membership and how do we upload it? And how do we, share our reports to the parents, and all that is all well and good. But what's particularly important is the impactful work that school improvement councils do year in and year out. And we are very fortunate to have with us the 2021 Rowdy Award winner for SIC Excellence, and that is Flowertown Elementary SIC in Dorchester School District 2. And here to share some information about what they've done, share a profile of the SIC Rowdy Award winner is Jessica Farnsworth from Flowertown Elementary. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning, Tom. Thank you for inviting me to share all of the great things that we've been working on at Flowertown. So would you like me to just share the PowerPoint that I shared at the Riley announcement ceremony? Or would you rather me just share?
Oh, yeah, you could, if you go ahead and share that PowerPoint, that'll be splendid.
Okay, great. All right, so I know a number of you maybe were in attendance, but we were very, very proud to be recognized at the end of last school year as the Dick and Tunky Riley Award SIC of Excellence at Flowertown. So this PowerPoint is the presentation we shared as being a finalist. So hopefully as you watch this, you can be inspired and get some great ideas of things that could take place in your district. Also, I will offer myself up to present to your districts. If you, as the district representative, would like us to share some of the things that we do with your school representatives, we know that our children are all of our children, and we want to impact all of the schools in South Carolina. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we definitely would be willing to present to any of your school representatives as well. So like Tom mentioned, we were the winners of the Riley Award this past year. And a little bit about Flowertown. We were established in '79, and like you mentioned, we're in Dorchester District 2. Last year, we served about 770 students. This year, we're up to about 820, with a lot of kids deciding to come back after being virtual or in other programs with COVID happening. We're approximately 54% of our students are free and reduced lunch. And we're a Capturing Kids' Heart school, and we work really hard to bring in community. In fact, throughout the presentation, you'll see that that kind of strand stretched throughout is bringing in the community, whether it's business partners or government officials to be a part of our school and bring their resources to our students. So our SIC has been established for a while, but has definitely been an evolution and changing throughout the years that I've participated and that I've been on the SIC. We have a mission statement that aligns to our school's mission, which is, to be a forum for our parents, our school staff, and our community to engage in ongoing communication, but most importantly, leading to actions so that we're not just all sitting around talking. We also make some action items to promote school and district goals and accomplishments of those goals. So just like everyone, I'm so proud of us all being on Zoom. Can you imagine 2 years ago, we just were feeling our way through all of this. But in that year where school we left on a Friday and never came back for that year, our SIC was really able to adapt. We went straight to doing monthly meetings on Zoom. And a lot of that came from having that established group ready to already completely invested in our SIC's mission. They really wanted to finish the year strong. So that was a big part of that transition to digital and being an SIC that was working together to overcome some of those struggles that everybody was facing. when I first joined our SIC, we found that we kind of lacked focus, and that can be a problem that all SICs have when you have so many people involved and you have people from the school and people from the community and parents, and some people might see it as a time to just bring their concerns about and not necessarily impact change. And so to help us get focused, we set 3 goals for our SIC. And the biggest one was the parent involvement and bringing in the community involvement and communicating our goals. Another one is because we have so many SIC members that are in the business community, a college and career ready focus was important to our SIC. And so that became goal number 2. And then goal number 3 was really collaborating with local organizations and making sure that we were bringing in anybody that we could from the community to provide for our families, and that creating that bond between the community that surrounds our school and the school itself, so that we weren't an island on our own just trying to help our kids. We were bringing in all of the people from throughout the community. In Dorchester too, we're very blessed to have a superintendent and a district that is very supportive. And so we felt like we wanted to bring the other people from the community, fire department, we meet with the police department, we had DHECs present to our families. And so it was all about bringing in the community. So goal number 1 was communication. Another quick thing is that our SIC wanted to make sure that they were a separate entity from PTA. I know a lot of times that those two can get confused. We love our PTA. Our PTA is very involved and very strong. They are also an award-winning PTA, but they are 2 very different groups. And I think sometimes schools, we forget that we want to make sure to establish that difference, and that this is a council. We have bylaws, our own set of bylaws. We have our own membership expectations, and we want to make sure that our families and our community understand that. But our SIC just wanted to get out there in the community. So when we have parenting events, they're out there, they set up tables, and they want to make sure people can ask questions about what is SIC and what is its purpose. Feedback, we use a lot of surveys around here. As you guys all know, in education, we're always polling the families and we want to know. And our SIC came to us, and specifically the parents on our SIC had concerns about, well, this teacher uses this app and this email, and it's all very overwhelming in a digital world. And we found that we needed to really focus our communication. So we moved to one school-wide app for communicating. And again, just examples of how we're using survey data. These surveys, this is a big portion of our SIC meeting, is bringing the survey data to the meeting so that our parents and community members can come up with goals and plans, and that we're not just sitting around thinking, hey, let's do this, let's have this cleanup day, which, trust me, I love cleaning up our school, but we want to make sure it's data focused, and that we're not just working on projects just for the sake of a project, that it's coming from a place of need. So parent workshops, the one blessing with digital and going virtual in a lot of ways is that we've been able to host so many workshops at so many different times of the day, and families that would have never been able to participate have been tuning in. I've heard from working dads who had that Zoom meeting on their phone while they were working, and they were able to at least hear the advice and hear the information and participate. So we saw that as not only a challenge, but as a purpose for change. And we're continuing those virtual presentations, and we've seen a lot more involvement in that way. Like I mentioned before, bringing in people from the community. We had DHEC come in. We had the CEO of our YMCA come in and share resources from the community that our families could be partaking in. A lot of these things are free, but it was just that making that connection between the community and our families, and what can we all do together. Goal number 2 is career awareness. Like we mentioned, a lot of our SIC members are not your stay-at-home parents or guardians. They are the ones out in the community working. And so they're taking that time, and they know where our students need to be in order to be ready for the real world and careers. So even in the elementary school, we've started a career focus. Over the past couple of years, this is something that's changed. And our SIC said, well, we have this program right here in our district, the CATE program, the College and Technology Education Program. why don't we let the students come present? So that was really straight from our SIC members. Instead of bringing in community members, which was great, and we did that for several years, we let the students in the high schools come present. And it was a lot more relevant to our 4th and 5th graders to sit there and see a kid that looks a little more like them talk about engineering and culinary and the medical field and their plans for college and career. Some of these students were going straight into their careers. And for a lot of our kids, that's the path they're going to take. So it was great to have that connection. This year, with it being virtual, we did not give up on our career panel. We had the students join us virtually. And so the high schoolers presented virtually from their cafeteria. And this has been a great partnership with our local high schools. If I could park on that for a minute, I think that sometimes we look so far for, we look almost too far away for the ways to help our school community when the other schools around us are a wealth of knowledge and resources. And so I encourage you guys to talk and communicate with the other schools, see what they're doing and ways that they can supplement your programs and work together and let them be a resource for you. And of course, who doesn't love a good career dress up day? We love seeing our busy bees dressed up and they have a good time with that. Again, this year, because we couldn't bring community members in, we let them send in videos. And so we had, and representation is so important. We made sure that we reached out to a lot of different career fields and being able to film the video and then send it in, but also specifically say, hey, busy bees, I'm Brandon James from Boeing. And it really helped them see, oh, he's talking to me. It's recorded, but he's talking to us. And community outreach was a big goal for ours. And like I said, again, you'll hear that common theme, just bringing in community members that can be a part of our school. The Low Country Food Bank, we're very blessed to have a lot of resources right here in the Low Country, partnering with the Career Technology School. And all of these projects that I'm showing you came from discussions and looking at feedback and looking at surveys of our SIC. And that's really the key here is letting that SIC be a guide, but making sure you can take it from goals on paper and those conversations that you're having and let them turn into real world action items that are impacting not just our school, but our community. And that was a big push for us this year, communicating, making sure our families knew monthly resources that were out in the community. This calendar is not a calendar of school events. This is a calendar of community events that were being sponsored from churches, Feeding America, Low Country Food Bank, coat drives. So we added some of our personal school community outreach programs, but a lot of this is, things that our district offered and making sure our families knew about it. So we do have a partnership with our PTA. That's a very strong partnership. Our PTA president obviously sits as a member on our SIC, but we also, it's a very different program and we make sure that they know that their impact is different and that we want them to feel like it can be unique based on our goals. So we have a lot to be proud of. It has been a difficult year. I think as we left last year and going into this year, it felt so we had this, this optimism, and then things have really still been difficult. But at the end of the day, our students are learning, our teachers are teaching, our parents are being supportive at the school level, and we have a lot to be proud of. And we're really, we know that our SIC and our community involvement is a big part of why we have been successful as a school. So thank you so much for letting me share. I hope I didn't just talk everybody's ear off too much. Hopefully it sparked some ideas, things that you could take back to your schools, your school SIC representatives. And again, if you need us to speak or come and inspire SIC or give any guidance, we would be more than willing to do that. We've already met with a couple of schools here in our district this year that are like, oh, we want to go for the Riley Award. And we haven't let up the brakes. We know that we're not eligible to win this year, but it's become a part of our culture. It's just second nature now for our SIC to be a strong force in our school. So we haven't let off the brakes.
Great. Well, thank you, Jessica. And I certainly appreciate you sharing all that fine information from the Flower Town.
My principal just stepped in. Sorry, Tom, to interrupt.
Good.
Hi, we're dismissing here. We have an early release day. So
Okay.
Ms. Farnsworth has been seeking this Riley Award for before I ever got here. So I attribute a lot of our success to Ms. Farnsworth right here. She's got a great way of reaching out to our community and really getting them involved and recognizing them and all the hard work that they're doing and showing them how they can help our school improve each and every day. So thank you, Ms. Farnsworth.
Thank you, Ms. High.
Excellent, thank you. And then Casey Ball Hodge, of course, the principal there at Flowertown Elementary. And thank you for all the outstanding work that you have done, and for not only sharing that with us this morning, but your willingness to share as we go through this school year together. So thank you very much. Karen, we have with us Karen Utter, who is the Associate Director for the South Carolina School Improvement Council, but also Karen serves as the Director of the Carolina Family Engagement Center, which is housed here in the SCSIC offices. And the CFAC, as we call it, is really quite an operation where we've received a 5-year federal grant to work with identified school districts and schools to bolster their efforts in terms of family and parent engagement. And Karen, welcome. I got your screen there, and to tell us a little bit what we got going on with CFAC.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm just going to take a brief moment to update folks about what's up at the Carolina Family Engagement Center. And for those of you who may be new this year as district contacts or who may not have heard of us, we are a 5-year, nearly $5 million grant project, and we're funded by the U.S. Department of Education under ESSA. And it's hard to believe, but we're starting year 4 of our 5-year grant on October 1st. So we're really past that initial stage, and we're going full tilt towards the finish line. And in addition to being housed in the SCSIC offices, I wanted to, if Regina's still there, wanted to give a shout out to the State Department, who is our lead partner on this grant and who has been a great support and partner to us in this work. So our focus on years 4 and 5 of the grant is going to be on generating evidence of promising practices for improving student achievement and improving schools by using evidence-based practices. And we are going to be doing that in a number of different ways. So I'm just going to briefly describe what the core components are of what we do, just to give you a feel, and maybe share a few lessons that we've learned already in the field that hopefully will maybe be helpful tips for you in supporting your school improvement councils. So our first core program is our school partner program. And through this program, our CFAC regional family engagement liaisons, and we have 5 of them, work directly with principals and school improvement councils and other folks at the school. They started working with these schools 2 years ago, so they're starting their 3rd year of working with their partner schools. And the goal is to work primarily through the SIC, but also with other parts of the school in learning how to plan, implement, and evaluate family engagement activities and practices using an evidence-based strategic planning method called Getting to Outcomes. And a lot of what Flowertown talks about, even though they have not been a participant in our program, many of the things they talked about in terms of setting goals and using data to guide their work, those are the kinds of things that we really try to focus on when we're working with schools and family engagement. We currently have 29 partner schools participating with us, and the districts that we're serving are Anderson 2, Beaufort, Charleston, Chester, Clarendon 2, Lexington 2, Richland 1, and Rock Hill. So I'd encourage you, if you're from one of those districts and you're not aware, please find out which of your schools are participating and give them a shout out for the extra work that they're doing this year. We do have a focus of serving schools that are in high poverty areas. So all of our participating schools have a poverty index of 60% or higher. So a couple of observations that we've made in the course of the first 2 years of our work that directly would relate to SICs. I think as Flowertown mentioned, in some ways, the pandemic has had a silver lining in that there have been opportunities for parents and community members in particular to be more active in their SICs. Part of the increase in engagement is just the fact that school has been more present at home, and so it's made it more of a present need to be able to engage with the school, but also using those technologies has become second nature to so many people, and that has resulted in an increase in participation, which is really great, and something that I hope that option will continue. Schools will continue to use that option with their SICs for those for whom they can't come in person. Another important observation and a plug for signing up for basics training for the SICs in your districts. SICs really need that basics training in order to thrive. It may be that over time at a school like Flowertown, which has had a very high functioning SIC, that knowledge becomes second nature. And so it gets passed down from the current group to the incoming group each year. But if you haven't had that tradition in your SICs, new groups that come in really need that guidance as to why are we here? Are we here to listen to reports? Are we here to provide feedback? Are we here to take action? Are we here to help improve our schools? What do we want our SIC to look like? They need some assistance in figuring that out. We've also found that consistent long-term technical assistance, and when I say technical assistance, I don't mean like technology, but that sort of coaching or that mentoring that goes on over time through our family engagement liaisons also helps SICs to strengthen over time. So I think the corollary would be in a district where we are not necessarily active right now. If as the district contact, you have the time and ability to be able, for example, to attend SIC meetings on a regular basis and really see what's going on and to demonstrate the district's commitment to SICs, that can go a long way towards helping at the school level to strengthen that SIC and help it to become a sustained activity at the school. For those schools, and we do work with schools that when we came in did not have a functioning SIC, things had just broken down. So sometimes it takes a little while to build those relationships and to build awareness among the school community as to what an SIC is, so that you can then go ahead and recruit and retain those parent and community representatives that really make the SIC a true stakeholder group. So just recommending that if you're having trouble at the outset in terms of getting your SIC started, really important to be committed to those monthly meetings, even if the attendance is low, even if it's primarily school personnel. And the goal and the focus of that group that's meeting every month can be, how do we reach out and how do we build those relationships with other parents and community representatives so that we do have a full representation on our SIC and we're in compliance. And then challenges, just a few challenges. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with these challenges. Just that general lack of awareness, again, of what SICs do and how parents and community members can benefit from participating. So thinking about making sure that folks both know what an SIC does, and then why is it important for you to be involved, or what's in it for you, and helping folks to remember that these are for their benefit, as well as for the schools. Again, what I usually talk to schools about, if they're having trouble getting their SICs to meet regularly, we kind of look at, is the level of engagement just low when it comes to SICs, or is the level of engagement at the school low across the board? So if the school has generally strong family engagement and involvement of parents, and it's just a question of the SIC, usually working on that awareness and making those personal asks to folks and encouraging parents individually to say, you have valuable information and feedback to be able to offer us. We really want you to be there as a parent or community member. That can be the best approach. But if engagement is low across the board at the school, you may need to focus more on building those school family relationships, and it may take more time, but it can be done. When you have those school family relationships in place, that tends to drive growth within the SIC. Sort of making sure that at your SICs that the perception is not that the SIC is for those other parents. In our work in the field, we come across SICs where, for example, a parent may have been the SIC chair for the last 15 years. Presumably she had lots of kids, but it becomes sort of cliquish, and that is not what an SIC is intended to be. SICs are considered quasi-public bodies, and so they are always open. Meetings are always open to the public, not just to members. And if you see that sort of perception growing, it's important to challenge that perception with other parents to get that mix of folks so that it's not always the same, the usual suspects who are working on the SIC. And then principal attitudes toward the SIC are really key, and district contacts can really be helpful in that regard. In communicating the district's commitment to SICs and family engagement and to having those SICs meet. And then again, that sometimes that lack of capacity, as Flower Town mentioned, for moving to just reporting and discussing to that meaningful discussion and action and how to do that. And here at SCSIC, we have lots of tools and trainings that you can draw on as district contacts to offer to your SICs to help them move forward in that way. So our teacher team partners, not only do we work on family engagement at the school level, but we also work at the classroom level with individual teacher team leaders. They spend 2 years with our family engagement liaisons doing family engagement development, implementation, and evaluation at the classroom level. And I think probably the most important thing we've seen there that may be of help for you to know as district personnel is we've seen how seating these individual classroom teachers in schools with strong family engagement modeling has really had an impact on other classrooms and in the school as a whole, where our teacher partner was sort of going off on their own and trying out some of these new family engagement strategies. And when other teachers saw that some of those things were working, they were very quickly interested in partnering with our classroom teacher to do those same practices. So that's a good way of introducing, if you have a school that may not be as committed to family engagement and you really want to demonstrate the power of that, if you can find 1 or 2 classroom teachers or leaders in that school that are committed and can go ahead and start modeling those strategies and how they work, that's a great way of persuading others of the value of that. And also just remembering that as we try to tell our teacher team participants, SICs should really be a space for teachers to further develop as leaders in family engagement as well as in school improvement generally. We know our teachers are hungry for space where they can give their feedback and where they can have an impact on what's going on at the school and in the classroom. And so SICs can really be a place where teachers can do that, and reminding teachers of that is helpful in getting more buy-in from teachers in terms of participating. And then we have our parent leadership partner program. So we have school level, we have classroom level, and then we have capacity building for parent leadership among our parents. It's an 8-session program that goes on. We did it monthly last year virtually with a class of 10 parents who were from Charleston and the surrounding area. The curriculum was developed by Dr. Yesha Becton here at the College of Education, and it's really customized for parents of students attending Title I schools in South Carolina. So it could be used anywhere for any parents, but that was the audience we were focused on when we developed that curriculum. That was our first pilot. We have a new pilot starting this month. The curriculum does talk about how parents can lead through participation in their school improvement councils. And just so you know, we are developing a train the trainer course that will be available this summer and will be open to anyone from any district who is interested in facilitating one of these Parent Leadership Partners program for the 22-23 school year. So we'll be sending out more information about that, but I would encourage you, if you have SICs or if you have school level family engagement liaisons who might be interested in leading a parent leadership training for parents in your district or school, let us know and we'll let you know about that opportunity to get the curriculum and to have access to that train the trainer program so that you can then take that to your district next year. And I'm going to finish up here. These are some of our graduates from the first pilot program. And just wanted to let you know we have additional resources on our CFAC website, and I'll make sure everyone gets a copy of this PowerPoint so that you can use these links to find more information about family engagement and opportunities that are available to all districts, not just those who are participating as our partners. Okay, any questions?
Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Karen. Does anybody have any questions at all for Karen about the Carolina Family Engagement Center? Well, Karen, we certainly appreciate you sharing that information. We'll make sure that this goes out to all our DCs who were both here and not able to join us, so that they will have access to those links and the resources through CFAC. So thank you very much, Karen. Good work there, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you. Up next, we have with us going to give us a little update on the legislative goings on with the state of South Carolina. We have Patrick Kelly, who is Director of Government Affairs for the Palmetto State Teachers Association. And Patrick, thank you for being with us and sharing this information.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be with you guys this morning. I still teach an AP US government class at Blythewood High, and I have taught right before lunch before, so I understand the pressures of being the person between you and lunchtime. So I will be efficient and respectful of your time. But just want to give you a quick update on where the General Assembly stands at the midpoint of this 2-year cycle of the General Assembly. They wrapped up kind of sort of in June, although the Senate at least is coming back next month. The House is still to be determined to potentially address issues like redistricting and spending federal relief dollars. But really next January is when they come back full term, full session, with the potential to address education policy in full. And just want to give you a quick update of where they stand. So they did pass quite a bit of education related legislation in the prior session. I didn't really flag that in these slides so much as I flagged what still remains, but I'm happy to answer any questions at the end about bills that did become law that you may have questions about. But what I've focused on here are bills that have quote unquote crossed over, that passed one chamber but not the other, because for a bill to become law in South Carolina, it has to pass both chambers of the General Assembly and be signed by the governor within a 2-year period. And if it doesn't, then the bill, if it's reintroduced in the 3rd year, has to go all the way back to the starting line. It's got to start the whole process over. So the General Assembly will come back in January and have until early May to complete their legislative work. And anything that is not passed into law by that end date in May of 2022 will have to restart. And so these bills that made it out of one chamber but not the other are the ones that have the greatest likelihood of becoming law in 2022 because they're already halfway across the process. The Senate passed 2 bills that the House of Representatives has not currently addressed that deal specifically with education. Both of them were addressed in the Education and Public Works K-12 subcommittee in the House, but then simply the clock ran out. The calendar ran out, and so these are still sitting in the full Education and Public Works Committee, ready for discussion when they come back in January. The first one, S16, as passed by the Senate, would have replaced the half-credit economics course that is required for graduation currently. with a half credit course in personal finance. It would still allow high schools to teach economics, but that would no longer be a graduation requirement. That's what the Senate passed. The House subcommittee completely revamped that bill and turned it into a study group that would look at the existing high school economic standards over the course of the next 2 years, and then make recommendations in 2023 to the General Assembly on whether to continue with economics or to transition to a personal finance only course. A big part of what drove that is the existing econ standards. About 1/3 of them deal with personal finance. So something personal finance related is likely to pass, but it's a little unclear what, because the Senate version is fundamentally different than the version the House has now turned this into. S203 is a bill that deals with removal of school board members for willful acts of negligence, of a whole laundry list of activities, basically illegal or unethical activity. It would empower the governor to remove a school board member for one of those reasons. The governor did sign into law identical legislation dealing with the state charter school boards. This language in S203 is similar to other local government officials, the powers the governor has to potentially remove them. So this is really just the General Assembly creating consistent language for all removal powers of the governor for various sundry local positions. It's not necessarily targeted at school boards so much as it's just creating consistency in state code. And that's it. The Senate did not pass a lot that the House didn't address. The House was more education motivated, or motivated is the wrong word. They were more education policy creation effective in 2021. It was just a bigger focus for them than it was in the Senate. So there are a lot of bills that made it out of the House that are sitting in the Senate Education Committee. Actually, even more than what's on this slide, but I surfaced the ones that would probably be the most interesting to an SIC group. There's about 10 bills the House passed that the Senate did not address. The 5 you see on the screen, S3590 would allow local schools to hire up to 25% of their teaching workforce with non-certified individuals, which the General Assembly sees as a mechanism to address the continued teaching shortage crisis that just about every district in South Carolina is dealing with. But there's a catch to it. Under 3590, these non-certified individuals would still have to have a bachelor's degree at minimum in the area they're going to teach, which really knocks elementary school off the table. It knocks special ed off the table because nobody majors in special ed and then doesn't teach special ed, generally as a rule. And you have to have 5 years of work experience. So that 25%, you can't just go hire anybody off the street. It's still a very limited workforce that you're potentially pulling from. The House passed it. The Senate has similar language in their big reform bill in 2020 that COVID kind of shut down because the General Assembly went home. So I think there'll be interest in that in the Senate, but I'll be curious to see if it doesn't have some more requirements in it than what the House version has. 3591 would, for the first time, create an educator preparation report card in South Carolina. Currently, there's not a really, there's not a central clearinghouse of data on the effectiveness of educator preparation programs in our universities. This bill would require the creation of one. Educator preparation programs would have to report things like student performance on praxis, student GPA, student retention rate in the profession 1, 3, and 5 years out. It would require an employer satisfaction survey of new teachers from various educator preparation programs. So that would create a centralized clearinghouse that currently we don't have in this state. 3592 deals with everybody's all-time favorite topic, which is standardized testing. It deals with a host of different issues. The biggies are it would eliminate all state requirements for summative end-of-year testing that are not federal requirements. And basically what that means is it would get rid of social studies testing. So currently the SC Pass test in elementary and middle for social studies is frozen by proviso, a 1-year budget provision. And the US history end of course exam in high school still exists. if 3591 becomes law as written, those tests would permanently be removed from the state assessment portfolio. It would also limit local school districts to only administer one formative assessment, which is a growth assessment. Typically it's MAP or STAR are the ones that most districts in South Carolina use. Districts could choose one, and they could administer it up to 3 times per year and no more. So it would reduce the amount of formative assessments that a district could potentially administer. For an SIC group, something in that bill that I think would be very interesting is that once a district chooses its formative assessment, it has to inform parents in advance that the test is coming, which pretty much happens now. But it would also require that families receive the results of that assessment within 7 days of its administration. And that is not the norm in most districts right now. So I think SICs would be highly interested in that, because formative assessment data would get back to families much quicker than it currently does. 3465, this is a fascinating case study in how the sausage gets made in the legislature. It started in the House as a bill that would have created a permanent teaching certificate for individuals that have 20 years of experience or more. So they wouldn't have to go through the 5-year recertification cycle at that point. The House completely overhauled it and turned it into a study group. The House really liked study groups last year. So it would be a study group to look at teacher certification requirements. And then they stuck on a provision that would require districts to give every certified teacher a time frame of unencumbered planning time every day without direct instructional or supervisory roles with students. So that's sitting in the Senate. And then 3883 would expand competency-based education opportunities in our state. It would address K through 12, but I really see it as more of a high school bill, because it would give districts the capacity to request the ability to waive seat time requirements and move to a model where students could earn credit in a class by passing industry level certification or competency skills assessments, instead of necessarily having to hit a magic number of hours in order to earn a Carnegie unit. So that also sitting in the Senate. There are a host of other things that are out there. Everything that's on the screen was discussed at some point during the last legislative session, but it did not pass either chamber. So for anything that teacher salaries did pass, I should note that. The General Assembly did pass a $1,000 pay raise for every teacher in the state, regardless of experience level or certification level. I have teacher salaries on here, though, because Speaker Lucas has made it very clear that it is an ongoing project for him to raise South Carolina teacher salaries above the Southeastern average. And we're not quite there yet. So I would expect teacher salary to be on the table again, because that's a long-term project and commitment for Speaker Lucas. But everything beyond teacher salary on that screen either only passed in part or has more work to be done, but did not pass both chambers. And so I'll just really kind of leave it there for a second to let you look at those. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have about what may be coming up, what was passed, maybe something you saw in the news. If there's anything I can do policy-wise, I'm happy to answer any questions. And since I teach, I got crazy wait time. I can just sit in silence forever waiting on questions.
Yes, I just had a question about the Life Palmetto Fellows enhancements.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you enlighten us just a little bit about that, please?
Yes, ma'am. So currently, students that major in math and science at a South Carolina university that are eligible for Life or Palmetto Fellows receive an enhanced amount on their scholarship, an increase in the amount of their scholarship. H 3796 would expand that enhancement to education majors as well. So it could be a really powerful tool for teacher recruitment because it would significantly reduce the amount of, I think it's $7,500 over a 3-year period that the bill would deliver. Don't quote me on that because I haven't looked at that bill recently, but I think that's correct. So it would be a significant scholarship boost to a Life or Palmetto Fellow eligible student who is majoring in education.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a question about the education savings accounts. When would that start within a student's lifetime?
So education savings accounts are I don't want to call them vouchers because that's not fair. They're not vouchers, but they are voucher 2.0. So they are not savings accounts in the sense of like the 529 plans that the South Carolina Treasury.
Yeah.
It's not that. What it would do under this bill 3465 is it would allow a family to disenroll their student from a public school, and then the state money that would have followed the student to their district, instead of going to the district, would be pulled and put into a savings account in the student's name that would be administered by the Department of Administration. And then the family could use that on a list of approved activities, private school tuition, private tutors, education technology. They could not use it for homeschool expenses, which I think is interesting within that bill. But it would basically take the state allocation for the child, put it into an account that the family could then spend on education-related expenses. As the bill is written, it would have basically go into effect the school year following signature by the governor. So if it could become law next year, it would go into effect unless they amend it, which is always possible. But as written, it would go into effect for the 2022-2023 school year. It did not pass either chamber. It did receive one hearing in a subcommittee of the House Ways and Means Committee, but it was not advanced by the subcommittee. The subcommittee adjourned debate, which means they would come back to it next year. So it's got a long way to go, but it also has a lot of support. It has over 80 sponsors in the House of Representatives.
Well, that's impressive. Does it accrue interest and can it apply to college?
No and no.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah, it's not, the money does not belong to the family per se. The family decides where it is allocated, but the money must be expended within a year for one of the allowable expenses.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Patrick? Well, Patrick, thank you for taking the time to be with us. And if you could shoot me a copy of this PowerPoint, that way we can put the printouts and put it in the packet to send to our district contacts so they have that available. So we do appreciate you coming and sharing that information with us.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, district contacts, we are coming up on our time, the end of our time together. I wanted to thank you all for certainly your what you do. I realize that being a district contact, having been one years ago myself, is in other related duties as required sorts of situations. So we appreciate your work in serving as a liaison between our office and the SICs in your district. It's something that is very important to us, and we appreciate the work that you do in that regard. Also, keep an eye out for not only for emails regarding the materials from this particular training, but also to have you think again about training for your local SICs and scheduling that virtual training, as well as additional information about the Riley Award and the application as soon as it gets up on our website, so you can share that information with your local SICs, as well as other operational items as we go through the school year. So at this time, what I'd like to do is thank you all for taking the time to be with us. Thank you for your patience early on. We stuck to it, and we were able to get things going. But if you would, if there's any other new district contacts who'd like to stay behind for introduction to SICs called SIC Basics, please stay here in the room and we'll start that. But for the rest of y'all, thank you again. Take care, be well, and we'll be in touch.